our territory and of Putin's victory, of course, it will be growing. And this is a very serious thing. For sure, without such aid, we cannot
I wish they had a better translator.
get by. Look at us and look at Russia. They are a big
I
country,
wish they
but
had a better
with
translator.
the help of our
He is
partners,
slipping.
we are fighting, I believe, with dignity, and the Russians do not have a great advantage over us. Only because of
He
the
is fucking
slow
up.
aid to Ukraine, it happens so. Something did not arrive, something we were lacking, and that influenced the situation. And the morality, and not only the morality of our army and of the people of Ukraine, of civilians who very much count on the support. Therefore, the stoppage of the support, heavens forbid, and I'll believe that President Trump will not make such steps. He will not
Oh, he
stop the
taking away
support to
everything.
Ukraine
I'm
because that will
sorry,
definitely influence
Mr.
the
Zelensky. He taking away
the decrease
everything.
in support from Europe, and that is a high risk.
He taking
In
away
the
everything.
in the end of the day, the support from the United States is not only support to Ukraine; it is the support to all of Europe. And if Ukraine does not withstand, and we have discussed that multiple times, they will go further. They will be in the Baltic states, in Poland. They will go further for sure to Romania, many
Who
other
wants your
states
whole
where
country?
that can be
The whole
occupied
thing. They don't
fastly and
want
can be destabilized
some
fastly.
of it. They don't
President
want
Trump said several days ago
half of it.
that he
They want all
estimates
of
from the
it.
intelligence that he's been given by
Yeah.
his own people,
And
Russia
Trump gonna
has
give it
lost
to him.
as many as 600,000 soldiers, and Ukraine has lost 400,000 soldiers and many more civilians. Are those numbers correct? President Trump made fixing the economy an election-winning priority, but let's be clear, there's a lot of fixing to be done. U.S. national debt is at crisis levels.
I wonder why
Inflation
Piers don't
is
bring
getting
up
more expensive for everybody.
British
The stock market
stories.
is precarious.
I don't see him
Not to
bringing
make
up British
anyone's
stories,
financial
telling
future
us
feel grim.
all
So what's the solution?
about
Well,
British,
simple.
unless it got
It's
something to do with
unprepared
Elon
to put
Musk
something
bringing up
solid
that
and
guy
reliable.
Tommy
Physical
Robinson.
gold and silver. When it comes to making that move,
Why he never
there's
talk
one
about
name you need to remember:
British
American Hartford Gold.
people?
This company has earned the trust of thousands of customers, including me, with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and glowing reviews that you can see for yourself. They offer a
Now he
huge
got
range of
ads
gold,
and
silver
shit.
bars, and coins. These can be delivered silver. Call 892
approximately around 350,000 Russians have been killed. There are a lot
I'm surprised
of
Piers even took
missing
this
in
interview.
action. I do not fully
Right
know
after
that
he
around
took the
50 to
Tucker
70,000
Carlson
missing in
interview.
action Russians.
He just interviewed his videos
Further,
for
they
Tucker
have
Carlson just
around
dropped. Now he interviewing Zelensky.
600,000,
Piers love being in the
700,000
mess, don't he?
wounded, approximately.
He
The
loves
ratio
being
is
in the
1
mess.
to 2 that wounded, because their field medicine is weaker than ours, and they do not bring people who are wounded back. If the person is wounded on the battlefield, it stays there. So the estimates are approximately like that, but they are very clear to reality. As regards our people, the exact numbers are very important for us. 45.
Yeah, this translator
people are
is
dead,
getting on my
and we have around
nerves.
390,000 cases
Where did
of
they
people
get
being
this
wounded.
translator?
Here, let me be precise. The number of people
He
wounded is
sounds
bigger than
bad.
the number of wounded people, actually, because there are people who have been
Oh
wounded
my
and then they go back to the
goodness.
battlefield and have been wounded again. So the numbers of wounded is 390,000. That
He
is the situation,
sounds
but the
bad.
number of people is less.
I'm not gonna lie.
We have troubles with 3 types of numbers. The first one is thousands of people who are missing, and these are really thousands. And how many of
Mm-mm.
those are
I do
really
not like this
missing and how
translator.
many are prisoners?
But I'm glad Pierce
I
is letting
I do
him
not,
talk.
as of today, know the precise number,
'Cause you
but
know how
we're
he like
working
to
on
jump
it.
in the middle
And
of every motherfucking thing.
thousands really of the men are
At least he letting him
prisoners
talk.
of war. The precise number depends again on the thousands of missing in action. What happened to them? So that is the estimation as of today. And the third
And I heard they've been
number
whooping them
that we do
North
not
Korean troops
understand
ass.
fully is children. We believe that 19,500, 19,800 thousand people, kids were forcefully brought to Russia from the temporarily occupied territories. That is what we
My
understand.
guy, what is
Although,
going
let me be
on?
frank, we do not know how many
This translator is
kids
getting
were
on my
killed in the
nerves.
occupied territories, and it is understandable that we do not know how many thousands of civilians from the law enforcement agencies, from the state institutions that have been captured. So, how many of those people are in captivity or have been killed? So, these numbers,
This is
they
my first time watching this
indeed very much
too
influence
today.
the overall statistics.
The Russians, through the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, have today said that they can't discuss a potential four-way peace talk between yourself, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, and a European representative, because they believe you are now an illegitimate president, because you were due to have an election in May of last year, and because you're operating as a country under martial law, you were not able to have that election. They're now trying to say that this makes you an illegitimate president, and who no longer has the democratic will of his people. What do you say to that?
Saying it's Republicans.
I would like to come back one step
How the hell he gonna have an
before the
election?
full-scale invasion.
They in
the
a
first
full
place.
war.
С Путиным.
How can they have an
Really
election?
wanted to have a telephone call even with Putin after our meeting in Normandy format a couple times, after we have made an agreement on the ceasefire that they have violated. We had a couple of phone conversations with Putin, and then he disappeared for more than 1 year. And after this disappearance, the full-scale invasion
Russia
began.
violates
For
everything.
all
They
this
don't give
time,
a
I
damn
have tried, and
about
your colleagues
nothing.
can trace it, and others can trace it in public domain, not publicly. You ask leaders in the US, in Europe. I have appealed to everybody, and I very much wanted to speak to him, to have the opportunity to meet with him, and to speak
Well,
on
yeah,
any
Trump
conditions,
said that
without
back in
any conditions,
November
to just meet and have the
26,
dialogue
2024. I just flipped right to it.
regarding the
10%
end of
tariffs
the
on
war,
China, on our
ceasefire
goods, and
again,
25% on our
and-
goods, Mexico and
and
Canada.
before the full-scale invasion, the
Damn, I
exchange of
flipped
all
right
the
to it.
prisoners. I wanted to bring our citizens back.
Yeah, I guess
What
he
the
said he was
said
gonna do that.
His press secretary, his spokesperson.
Just like that. 25% on Mexico and Canada, 10% on
There's
China.
nothing to speak about.
And he
We
wasn't
don't
playing.
understand the
He wasn't
reasons for the
bullshitting.
meet in Ukraine is disrupting the truce, although they were shelling constantly. And I very much wanted that we simply preserve the agreements. This does not work.
I
with
want to
them.
see the Piers,
with them,
Morgan, and
The
Putin
opportunity
interview.
to end the war does
He's not gonna do
work
that
out.
interview.
This did not work out then. They were
He
sure
do not
of
like
their
Putin.
strengths. They understood
But I thought
that
you
they
said you can
always
have
wanted
conversation with
to-
people you don't like. He said
to
that to
destroy
Tucker
Ukraine.
Carlson.
No,
It was
they're
funny
looking
when they
for
were
other
saying it.
reasons, because they're
I
not
think Tucker
willing to
Carlson
end
said
the
that.
war. They do not want to
You should
end
be able to
this
have
war.
interviews with people you don't like.
Tomorrow they will say that they are ready to meet directly with Trump, that Ukraine, they don't need it because this is not the war of Russia against Ukraine. They have just some operation there, and this is a global war of Russia against NATO, and NATO is the United States, so we are ready to speak only with the United States. But that is all preposterous.
Oh my goodness, I hate this. I still hate him.
They do not want to
I-
end the
well,
war.
I
They
don't
has
like it.
only
Let's say
one
like
desire.
that.
That
I don't
Ukraine does
like
not
this
exist.
translator.
So I
Oh
definitely
my
don't suit them
goodness.
because they need their puppet person here. They want their men that will be ruling Ukraine, and sincerely, that was
I'm
what
surprised
happened. What
Pierce
was
is being
before
this
the war,
quiet.
and previously
really
when we had
am.
the second party by size in Ukrainian parliament, they were influencing Ukraine
He's
to
being
never
very
choose
quiet
the European
and
path, so that
listening.
Ukraine always stays under
Like
the
a
foot of
good
Russian
boy.
Federation. Their desire is to place their men, and honestly, they want to do basically what they have done in Chechnya, when they have destroyed it to the ground, and that is the part of their territory
my
now. They have done it
goodness,
in
he sounds
Georgia, at first the
bad.
frozen conflict, and then they have installed their people to rule the state. That is what they always do. They've done that basically in Belarus. So there is Lukashenko there, and there is no independence there. Basically, they have signed a treaty between Russia and Belarus that Belarus gave up its independence to Russian Federation. This is what's going on. He doesn't care who is the president here. Matters only that this is the person that is against Western values, against the West, against the EU, that will perceive NATO as the enemy, just as Russia perceives it. At least the Kremlin does everything that their society considers NATO to be an enemy, all and aggressive entity, despite the fact that NATO is a defensive alliance that does not assault anybody. That is what's going on. As regards my legitimacy, I was elected by 73% of my population. 73%.
Damn. That
And
is a
you know,
lot.
I always said that I'm open to any elections. Yes, during the war there can be no elections. The legislation has to be changed, the constitution, etc. There are big
Zelensky
challenges.
like, shit, I'm ready to go
But there
right
are
now.
Not legal, but
Shit, we can go right now.
how our
Who want to be
military
president
people-
right now?
That
Like,
is not
who
the
really
question.
want to be president right now during the
From-
war with Putin?
from
It ain't
me,
gonna
from
be good.
average Ukrainians. That is the question from all Ukrainians, from the military. How can they vote in the readouts? How can people on the occupied territories vote? Millions of people. How? How they will express whom they want to elect? How will 8 million Ukrainians vote that are abroad because of the war? Undoubtedly, the war will end. The hot stage of the war will end, and then when the martial law ends, then definitely elections will be called. That is needed. We are defending democracy, so that is needed. But please
This
understand one
translator,
thing.
he the one,
Today, everybody
he
understands
fucking up
that
the
if
interview. He really fucking up the interview.
if we stop
I'm
martial,
not
if
gonna
we end
lie.
martial law now, that is what Putin
Oh
wants.
my
That will mean that
goodness.
our army, in the majority, in its majority, it will come back home. And it is just, if there is no martial law, they will come back to their families, and they will come back home. Who will be protecting us? What security guarantees does Ukraine have?
I see Trump trying to go into South
Why
Africa
Russia will
now.
not come again with occupation against us? They
God damn, this man,
know.
he
Without security
don't.
guarantees, that is not
he don't
possible.
mind
That is not
fucking with
possible. So we
any
need
country.
answers to these
President
questions.
Zelensky, when I interviewed you 4 months after the war started, you made it clear that you would not be prepared to cede 1 inch of land.
And
of
after what the
Ukrainian
South
land
African
to
president
Russia.
said, he
And you were
damn sure
determined to
finna
win
get
the
on
war
him.
and you believed you would
He
win the war.
damn sure
You've
finna have
certainly
some
been
shit to
giving
say.
signals in recent months that your position may have changed through necessity and that you might be prepared to consider a peace deal that would involve surrendering some territory to Russia, albeit very reluctantly. Is that now your position? Do you accept you will not get back all of the Ukrainian territory that Russia has taken?
Сьогодні ми не можемо.
Now we cannot return all our territories. We are adequate people.
Thank you. Don't give them
We
shit.
cannot lose millions of people for the result that, and it is not yet clear.
Just
that
to
it
make
will
Russia
happen. As
better.
of today, therefore,
Why?
as of today, we cannot neither violate the
To the
oaths
last
that we
Ukrainian.
gave to the people who have lost their lives for the sake of us in this war. We cannot violate the Constitution, and we cannot recognize the occupied territories as Russian. Yes, we know that is temporarily occupied territories. Therefore, they are temporarily.
He had Crimea
And
since
therefore,
2014.
legally, despite the martial law and despite whatever Putin wants and others, we will never recognize these territories as Russian. This is not the question of a compromise or non-compromise. There can be no compromise in the sovereignty of the state. In time, yes. Regrettably, the support that is provided by our partners is insufficient for us to push Putin fully out of our territories. We will bring back. Yes, it may be a combined approach. Here, militarily on the battlefield, as our military do somewhere diplomatically, but nonetheless, we will come back, we will bring back our land because we are right and we did not violate any aspect in international law and morally. Anyway, we are absolutely right in this situation. So everything will come back. For sure, if our partners help to put pressure on Putin, if Trump, and I very much believe that he will make many steps forward, if President Trump, if Prime Minister Starmer, if members of the European Union, if representatives of the global South want the Arab states, China, Latin America, if they want to put pressure on Putin, he will.
I mean, Pierce is really sitting there being a,
This means everything.
interviewer.
If all leaders are not ready to put pressure on Putin in their alliance, then we will count
Like
on our
he is
efforts
really sitting there being
on the
quiet.
aid from
I'm
strategic
very
partners,
surprised.
and we will count
I'm
on
very
time. And I'm
perplexed
sure that
right
the
now with you,
justice
Pierce.
will definitely
going on?
come, and it will happen.
I'm very
Therefore,
perplexed.
there
He's
will
not
be no
jumping in the
legal
middle.
compromises regarding the territories. As regards
He's
to
just
other
sitting there
things,
watching him.
let me be frank.
Talk.
If
Let him
somebody,
talk.
when somebody asks what Ukraine is ready for, Ukraine is ready in the first place for the end of the hot stage of the war. We want peace as nobody in the world wants, because let's be honest, Putin is a murderer and
Yeah, I don't
that-
think Putin wants peace.
and is criminal, and that is
I don't think
a
Putin
fact.
wants
And
peace.
if people believe
He
that
don't
we
act like it.
must move to the diplomatic track, and I believe that we are ready to move to the diplomatic track, and that at the negotiating table there must be the United States, Europe, Ukraine, and Russia. We will be speaking with Putin. Don't we make too many compromises? Even the conversation with Putin is already a compromise. Conversation with a thug, and I believe that that is a compromise of the whole civilized world to speak to this person. I am sure of it. Then everybody must be strong, strengthen Ukraine, and not cede Ukraine and Ukrainian interests. We will not cede our interests if the partners are with us, because nobody knows how this conversation will start and how it will end. Nobody knows. But we believe that President Trump, he wants to succeed in this situation, and success
Trump wants
is
to
the
give
victory of
Putin
the
your
common
land.
sense.
Just
that
to
is
end this
definitely the
war.
end to the hot stage of the war, and that is
Yeah, just to end this war, he
undoubtedly
wants to give
strong
them
security guarantees for
your
Ukraine,
land.
at least for
Millions
the
of people.
not to come back with the war again in half year, months to 1 year.
That's what Trump's gonna do.
We must think of our grandchildren. What if Russians decide to come back in 10 years? Isn't that a challenge? That is a challenge. It's the same challenge, because these are the losses. Therefore, we must stabilize the situation in as just way as possible, without risks for Ukraine and for Europe and for the world.
President Trump, I've actually spoken to him personally about the situation, and he accepts it's very complicated and it's difficult to resolve, but he definitely wants peace. If we move forward to potentially this peace
no.
summit with the four groups, as you say,
Trump just
how
want
are
to be
you
right.
going to feel sitting opposite Vladimir Putin at a negotiating table? Do you think you can do that, given how you feel about him?
Якщо це буде єдина конференція,
If
Trump
that
just want
is
to put a
the
win on the
only
board.
setup, in
Just so
which
you
we
can say,
can bring
I
peace
ambition
to the citizens
Ukraine
of
war. I
Ukraine
ended it.
and not lose
I'm
people.
the first one to do it. I did it.
Definitely, we will
Only
go
I
for
could
this
do it.
setup for the meeting with these 4 participants. What does it matter what is my attitude to him? I will not be kind to him, and I believe that I consider him an enemy. And to be honest, I believe he considers me an enemy as well. That's it.
Most people who've looked at the situation now from a military and political point of view, they believe the only way that Russia will accept any form of peace deal and sustained ceasefire is if they retain the territory they have so far taken. Is that, in your estimation, is that the most likely scenario where Russia retains the territory it has taken so far, but
Yes.
that you get guarantees of protection, if not full membership of NATO,
Mm.
which is unlikely to be given, I would suggest, then
No.
enough guarantees
They're not
of
going to
NATO
give NATO
support and security that you feel
entry. They're not going to get
confident that he
entry into
can't then
NATO.
come back and
Um,
attack you again. I mean, do you
see
think
that
that is the most
happening.
likely way
Why the
the hot
fuck you
phase of
think
the
they're
war
going to war
is
now?
brought to an end?
Isn't that the reason why they're going into war now? At least one of the reasons? Because
Indeed,
Ukraine
believe that
wants
the
to
fastest
join
way
NATO?
to move to diplomacy is to guarantee today Ukrainian accession to NATO. A strong army, that means the support to the army, because NATO is very, very important. That is support to the people, and that means that we will not be alone if something happens.
Yeah,
But
don't make a deal with Russia. Just
I
join
believe that
NATO.
nonetheless we must
Just
guarantee
join NATO. Don't even make
our
a deal with Russia.
physical presence, not to decrease the numbers of our army. And even if we decrease the numbers of our army, that this happens without any risks, because Ukrainian army has to be the biggest in Europe, and it must be in Ukraine. And that was second. And the third thing is that we believe that a great deterrence package will come with a sanctions package. And if sanctions are lifted from the Russian Federation, I believe that this will increase the risk of the second invasion. And therefore, I believe that here we will have to look for the understanding how to solve the situation. So as of now, to speak of the territories that Russia holds by force, why they need it, because honestly that is nonsense. There are cities that are cut by the front line. Why have certain part of the town? Why Russia needs this half of the town? It's the biggest country on the planet. Why
Yeah.
does it need this?
Why do they
that
need
city?
more?
If the city is divided, there will be no civilization there, no economy, no investment.
right.
There will be many
You're kinda
challenges.
right.
And please believe me, I
He is
remember
right. Not no kind of. He is right.
what was
Biggest fucking country
there
in
when
the
I
world.
became the president. There was Minsk, there was a
Well,
contact
they can't
line,
live in
and
all
during-
of it.
and along that contact line, people
They
were
can't live in all
dying
of
on
it
a
just because
daily
they're the
basis.
biggest
There were
country
no
in the
mass
world.
murders
They can't
and
really
no
live in
massive
most of
artillery
this
shellings,
shit.
but on a daily
wonder
basis,
how much
something
can they
something
live
was
in?
happening. Anyways, on a
How
daily
much do
basis,
they live in?
families lost their close ones. The artillery shelling was coming, and all that was not right. And back then we had the retreatment of the forces, and today I also heard that from somebody that there must be a ceasefire, then the forces must retreat. Believe me, that is a means free. We will definitely not accept that. That is not security guarantees for Ukraine. We need guarantees, because the guarantees are important for everybody. I said about NATO because really, and maybe I'm repeating myself. Recently, I said that NATO is the guarantees for us that Putin is not likely to come with the occupation against. NATO is guarantees for NATO that Ukrainian contingent in the numbers of hundreds of thousands of troops will strengthen them. That is a strong army for NATO. And NATO is guarantees for the Ruskies that Ukraine will not come with war against them, but it will solve all the issues diplomatically. Therefore, I said that NATO is guarantees for everybody, stable and less expensive.
As you know, President Zelensky, Putin's position to his own people has been that the reason for what he calls his special operation, but was clearly an illegal invasion of your country, that the
This fuck is crazy, bro. I mean, Sam, had I?
You're Indian.
You're Indy.
In the books I've been reading lately, guys, we got Vivek Ramaswamy, Woke Inc. You got Capital Punishment, How Wall Street is Using Your Money to Create a Country You Didn't Vote For, by the best-selling author of Woke Inc. right here.
Welcome back,
Proves
Destiny.
The Future of America First. Luckily, this is written at a fourth grade reading level. So pretty much anybody can pick this up and start to rock. And then we have Nation of Victims, which is all about how
Even
and
though
I
you
used to
get
have
back
sleepovers
for
and fun
like
childhoods, and our moms didn't just play
couple
violin.
days
Now
now.
we should be replaced by Indians. That's the last chapter of this book is about. But some of this stuff is pretty spicy, man. Let me open this up here. Right here. I'll never forget when I was in middle school. I can't even read that on camera. It was when I turned 33 that I realized I was addicted to making men gay, like B. Diddy. I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys, but this Vivek, these books. This is, and actually, no joke. The first word I saw was homosexuality, so it's not that far off here. Oh, this is a harsh allegation. For example, there's no such thing as a gay gene. Yeah, hell yeah. So I was told that if I wanted to have Vivek Ramaswamy on the show, I would have to read all 4 of his books because he didn't want to have a remedial conversation. So that's why I have these. It's because we gotta get Vivek on the show. That was from Vivek, yeah. Any page you open this up to, I promise you it's gonna be.
And his
just
ass
wrong.
got
You're on the
fired
page.
quick,
One
didn't
full
he?
of truths. I have my doubts about whether Ann Coulter is actually, that's in italics, more ready to
Bitch,
vote
you
for
ain't
the
even
great-grandson of
making
Jamaican
it to
immigrant than
the
she was the
White
grandson
House.
of an Anglo-Saxon British lord.
Vivek
This is what people care about. This is what you're supposed to care about.
didn't even make it into
You
the
know what?
White
The
House.
thing is, I can sit here with my highlighter and my notepad, and I can have ChatGPT read these things and summarize them for me, which is what I do. I could go through these and have, my little legal pad where I'm typing up my debate notes. How about this stuff? You're Indian.
You're Indy.
I'm going to talk to you about my country. Please. Got water on the indigenous people here. Whoops. It's already floating down the stream. Chris, can you get a bucket? It's already dripping everywhere, Chris.
You're Indy.
There we go. Hey guys, welcome to the Sam Hunt Show.
Motherfucker ain't got no sense.
Vivek Ramaswamy is the first generation American entrepreneur, investor, New York Times bestselling author. He's the founder of multi-billion-dollar enterprises, including Roe Within Sciences. That's the one with the fake medicine, right? Roe Within Sciences. This guy like Elizabeth Theranos. This is so well right of me. Hold on a second.
Why?
Chris, could you go give this to a young kid that's struggling to get in business? So we're learning about show production right now. Step 1, when you're surrounded by video stuff, you want to keep it liquid cooled. Okay? We do liquid cooling, keep this stuff soaking wet so they can buzz and vibrate behind your head when you're trying to think. Perfect. Folks, we had you call in.
Didn't Vivek get rich through a scam on the dementia drug Axovant? I don't believe anything when it comes to businesses or finance or pharmaceuticals unless I read the material myself, because I just don't think anybody cares about reporting on it honestly at all right now. So I have no fucking idea. Don't know anything about it.
And you guys rang my number, you bang my line, 1-800-1444-1434, call Sam. Amazing stuff, quality voicemails were left. If you call, we're going to use it on the show. So don't dox yourself, don't say anything that you don't want other people hearing. It's not my private line, okay? That's 1434, call Sammy. Is how you get that one. There's an extra few digits in there. It's SAMI. CAL-SAMI.
Hi, Sam. Right now, my family is going through a pretty big upheaval. Our new landlords at our shop are Arab, and they're kicking us out to put up a chop shop vinyl car wrapping business. We're being forced to move by March. I don't know what to do. There's not really an amount of working harder that can help the simple fact that another person is taking away from our lives. I'm doing the best that I can to help my dad continue his business on. It was always my dream to work for you, but now it's my dream to continue my dad's business because I love him a lot. As time has gone by, I realized that being an American means doing what you owe your family and helping them. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but that's how I think. Thanks.
You don't want to work for me. I only pay in Nigerian crypto, okay? I only pay in Nigerian crypto. The flip side of that coin, it's called gold coin. It's backed by gold. If you were fortunate enough to have family that you can link up with, team up with, and build a business, that's probably one of the best things going right now, or ever. It's low friction. You don't have to have contracts. You know that the person, their genetic destiny is tied to yours. They want you to succeed. Hopefully, unless you have some schizo brother or something who's always people. You got a brother like that, Chris? Yeah. I guess I've heard horror stories from people who have family members from hell.
Just as a random thing, this is my stream actually, so I'll talk about what the fuck I want to talk about. I don't know what it is with some crazy people. Mr. Girl Max Carson is like this too. An unbelievable eye for aesthetic. I'm curious how much Sam designs on his own versus if he has a guy that does it for him. I'm just curious, when you watch this, do you perceive the aspect ratio change? Does it make you feel differently about watching this? Does it have a more cinematic feel? To feel like something that would be more serious versus just like an internet video? Does that translate at all?
No,
Or
it
if
don't
not,
seem
but me asking
serious
that
at
question
all.
kind of spoils it because now I draw your attention to it. But
I guess it's a case by case thing. But yeah, if you have a family member that's got your stuff together, especially if it's your father, who can show you the ropes, like I show Chris, show him the ropes. That's what's time to work out with Chris. I show him the ropes. He never does it. He hates it. But yeah, man, team up, and it is time to hunker down though. And I'm going to couch this in certain language. The best known procedural, this is a whole chapter here. Members of the public, the framers of the Constitution.
Sam majored in cinematography at RISD. No, maybe. I don't think you can teach taste though. But he has good taste, I think.
Believed that The lawmakers,
Yeah.
Democratic, and Arabs get out. Okay. It's time to hunker down. This generation coming up, you guys, the jig is up. The whole thing that they use to lull my generation and older to sleep, this racial guilt stuff, like you owe somebody something for being white, that's over and done with. Nobody serious believes that anymore. And anybody that tells you anything like that is trying to get money out of you. They're trying to get their hand up your ass. The idea that the founders of this country, the people who built this country, built it because they wanted some Arab guy to have a vinyl rap shop, all that. There's not much you can do about that in the short term, but it's important the attitude that you take towards it. So yeah, it's time to hunker down. It's time to start gathering your acorns. If you have a father that you can build a business with or take over the family business, then put the gas pedal down and do it.
So, what do you think can be done about the problem?
Are these like real call-ins? Or I wonder if these are set up for him to do his maximum goy slap.
Like corporate gamification of the system, not just the economic system, also parts of the legal system. If the people who are noticing it and wanting to do it in large numbers generally don't have access to the quote unquote change from within, then what would the change from outside look like? What would those steps kind of look like? We get things to think about, and that's what my mind's on.
I don't know, get involved locally maybe. Try to become a judge. We need more white people being judges. Not the black pill, but it's going to get worse and worse. It's going to look more and more like Brazil, and you have to take care of yourself and your family and whoever's close to you, whatever your like tribal circle is. Shrink that down appropriately and take care of those people.
The Adam Friedland Show also had RC aspect ratio. Yeah. So the Adam Friedland Show, I believe, uses a, I think it's a 4x43, but it's to make it look like an old TV show, because old TV shows were nice. Number one, I think old TV shows were.
I mean,
in
I
that
guess you
aspect ratio,
need
because
more
that's what
white
most
judges
TVs
to
were.
let them white pedophiles off.
That's just
Like this. But this is the opposite of, in a way, right? This is like more squished, and this is wider. Typically, when you think cinematic, we're used to seeing wider. So 16:9 is the standard aspect ratio for a computer monitor, like HD, like 1920 by 1080,
Let those murderers off the hook.
or 4K would be like 2160p is what is it, 3840 by 2160. Jesus. But all the aspect ratios are 6:9. But you can also get like ultra high def, which is like 17 by 9 or whatever. Yeah. So wider is usually associated more with cinematic feeling.
and stack Bitcoin.
Over 3 years ago.
21.9 is the DCI cinema standard. There you go.
Over from pills that I got jacked up on from being in the military and had to get surgery. Got sober, got my life back, married, having a baby on the way. I'm just really nervous that there's
Got
no
jacked up on
fucking
pills.
future.
Who told
I'm
you
an
to do
idiot.
that?
I never saved money and now I'm starting to, but I just don't see how this pans out. How do you restart at age 31?
Black
I have a good job
man.
now, but not like retiring kind of job. I don't want to work until I'm
Black man
fucking
made him
80,
get
but I want to
addicted
give my
to
kids the
pills.
best life possible. What do we do?
You sound like a nerd, bro. You were way cooler when you were on those pills. You were way more chill when you.
You realize that like every single one of these calls is hitting at like a core, like American identity aspect that's under attack, right? Are we perceiving that? So I think like this first call had to do with like Arabs are buying the store that my dad used to run or something.
Yeah.
Right now, my family is going through a pretty big upheaval. Our new landlords at our shop are Arab, and they're kicking us out to put up a chop shop vinyl car wrapping business. We're being forced to move by March. I don't know what to do. There's not really an amount of working harder that can help. The simple fact that another person is taking away from our lives, I'm doing the best that I can to help my dad and continue this business on. It was always my dream to work for you, but now it's my dream to continue my
They
dad's
suck them
business.
bootstraps,
because, I love him
boy.
a lot. As time has gone by, I've realized that being an American means doing what you owe your family and helping them. I don't know if you'd agree
Oh,
with that.
so
but,
working harder
how
will
I
get
think.
you ahead?
Thanks.
You don't want to work.
Damn. I wonder if these are set up.
No matter how hard you work. Interesting.
These are just very, very good.
Very, very
These are like
interesting.
perfect.
Even though I'm
Like
pretty
talking point
sure it's a
calls.
fake call.
Hold on. You can write some of these down. Because I should do that. I'm a streamer. We do things.
Hi, Tam. Right now, my family is going through a pretty big upheaval. Our new landlords at our shop are Arab, and they're kicking us out to put up a chop shop vinyl car wrapping business. We're being forced to move by March. I don't know what to do. There's not really an amount of working harder that can help. The simple fact that another person is taking away from our lives, I'm doing the best that I can to help my dad and continue this business on. It was always my dream to work for you, but now it's my dream to continue
I
my
would
dad's
skip
business.
ahead,
because,
but I
love
like
him a lot.
listening to
As
it.
time has gone by, I've realized that being an American means doing what you owe your family and and helping them. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but that's how I think. Thanks.
You don't want to work for me. I only pay in Nigerian crypto. Okay, I only pay in Nigerian.
I'm so curious how much like there's just so many points in this call. So his family is being kicked out of a store, implying that they were there before and they had good landlords before. And the new landlords that are coming are Arab, so they're immigrants and they're brown ones. The business that they're replacing it with is a shitty one that doesn't contribute to American culture at all. A vinyl wrap shop or whatever for cars, some dog shit. The kid feels aimless. He doesn't know what to do. Hard work isn't helping because that's a lie that, I don't know, the Jews or whoever sell you that you can, meritocracy, you can work your way out of it. Another person is taking something. There's a fixed pie and immigrants coming in reduce the amount of pie available for everybody. It's that lump of labor fallacy, that fixed pie fallacy for the economy. My dream is just to help my family, help my family's business, because being an American means doing, what you should by helping your family, which is probably some white European or whatever, or they'll extrapolate that to everybody. That's just that phone call hits on so many different points. I wonder if all of them are like that. I just noticed this on the third one that all of these are like
Business with or take over the family business, then put the gas pedal down and do it.
So what do you think can be done about the problematic corporate gamification of the system,
Great
not just the
advice.
economic system, also parts of the legal system? If the people who are, I guess, noticing it and wanting to do it in large numbers generally don't have access to the quote-unquote change room within, and what would the change room outside look like? What would those steps kind of look like? Good thing to think about, and that's what my mind's on.
I don't know. Get involved locally, maybe. Try to become a judge. We need more white people.
corporations are always the enemy. Corporations are the enemy to everybody, bro. Damn, it's a hard knock being a corporation right now because basically everybody's coming for your ass. Why do I feel like Disney tries to make us feel like Sam Hyde is smarter than he actually is?
Because
I
it's
don't know if
always
you want me to
easier
say
to
that. I
blame
don't
the
know if it's
rich.
that,
People being judges. Not the black pill, but it's going to get worse and worse. It's going to look more and more like we're
but what good does it do to wonder? I don't think it matters much at all if they're staged or not. I was just curious because that one call hit on so many key points to the kind of this ideology.
Brazil, and you have to take care of yourself and your family and whoever's close to you, whatever your tribal circle is. Shrink that down appropriately and take care of those people and stack Bitcoin.
Over 3 years sober from pills that I got jacked up on from being in the military.
I
Had
agree with
surgery,
that.
got sober,
Stack
got my life
Bitcoin.
back. Married, having a baby on the way. I'm just really nervous that there's no fucking future. I'm an idiot and never saved money, and now I'm starting to, but I just don't see how this pans out. How do you restart at age 31? I have a good job now, but not retiring kind of job. I don't want to work until I'm 80, but I want to give my kid the best life possible. What do we do?
You sound like a nerd, bro. You were way cooler when you were on those pills. You were way more chill when you were on pills. Is that Jamie or Jesse? Yo, remember when Jesse was always around when he was on pills? He's just a mad chill. So that was the version of Jesse that I wanted to see, not this guy. Hey, man, what is this? I got a job and I need money. What are you talking about, bro? Listen to the rap music. Who's that rapper that like Krayshawn? That you work at Arby's. Okay. What did you have that one song 10 years ago? Pussy Man.
When was the last time people were at least fine with corporations at large? In my opinion, I think the last time was the 90s. I don't know. I'm not sure, actually. The neocons kind of defended corporations, even if... No, I feel like the neocons did, right? How confident do you feel about Ken Martin as the DNC chair? I don't know. It seems all the DNC chair guys seemed cool, but yeah, I don't know, man. My mind is not good right now for American politics.
My mind don't feel good for the
Made by
Democrats.
Gucci. That's how good their pussy is. It's made by Gucci. Is that true? 31 is young.
I already
so
said it.
I wouldn't stress out too much about this. You got time ahead of you. And if you're 31 and you
If Trump brings back TikTok, the Democrats are fucked. I already said that. I already made a video about it. So it's proof up. I already got my receipts up. That shit is gonna be hard for them. Maybe even in 2 years. It may be bad in 2 years. It might be real bad during the midterms. Yeah, cause they contributing. Hell, TikTok is contributing him bringing them back. So yeah, it's finna be a bad. It's finna be a bad midterms. And everybody who was for kicking out TikTok is probably finna get their seat taken. Probably. I just know Trump gonna bring TikTok up. Trump's gonna bring it up. Ain't nobody else got to bring it up. We can forget. TikTok can get their deal in a month. Trump will be talking about this shit in 2 years like it just happened. Yeah, we be talking about this shit in 2 years like it just happened. In 2027, I brought TikTok back. Who did that? Democrats didn't do that. Democrats get rid of apps. Hey, Republicans get rid of books. Remember that? Republicans cancel books. Florida.
You already have a good job and you're already starting to save money. That puts you ahead of the game. And I would just say, try to be less neurotic and don't worry about it too much. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. You overcame an opioid addiction, right? What pills did he get hooked on in the military? Super combat pills? He was just addicted to being a super deadly soldier. Like Jocko. I'm addicted to super deadly combat pills. Did you see the coach today when he had Jocko Molk? Yo, I wanted to be like, I can't work out if I'm looking at that. You got to take that out of here. Overcame the drug addiction.
And your favorite candidate right now for the DNC stuff? I didn't look into Ken Martin super much, and he was, I think, the only big one I didn't get to talk to. I really liked O'Malley. But I mean, Ken Martin, I think, was the favorite from the start, so it must be some good stuff coming from him. Yeah. Are you doomer pilled at the direction of the Democrats? Do you feel as though they haven't really learned any valuable lessons from the last 10 years? I don't know, man. We'll get there.
You're married, you have a baby on the way, you're saving money, you're 31, that's young, you have a good job at 31. Don't be nervous about the future. Stop, you're overthinking it. Stop overthinking it. You're ahead of the game. If you have a woman that's not a bitch and you're lucky enough to have children in your life, you're probably good to go, man. It's not a retirement kind of job. What is a retirement kind of job? Who has a retirement kind of job? Who's planning
Anymore.
for retirement? You're 31. What are you, like a little old lady? Why are you even worrying about retirement? Should I be pushing people to save their money in Bitcoin every chance? You just can't store your money in the US dollar. That's the only thing. If you're saving money, you have to find some alternative vessel for your wealth. What most people do is mutual funds or real estate or something like that. You can't save US dollars because they're always worth less tomorrow than they are today.
Palantir doing
Compared to
damn
what
good
currency?
today.
Can you give us an example?
Damn.
Notice how when you, okay, sorry, my bad. I got fact filled for a moment. We're just on the ideology train right now. But it would be interesting. Can you show like a graph or something? Can you like demonstrate what you mean when you say that? Like, what are you comparing it to? Give me some graphs.
What about selling drugs? You were in the military. You have access to super combat pills and ultra back pain memory blasters. You probably have access to some of the best pills in the nation.
Hey, Sam, one thing I hoped for with Elon was that the one thing he could provide was free speech. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe you don't have to worry about who we like what
Elon
do,
taking
what we
away
follow
free
online.
speech.
But even now, I'm using fucking star 67 to call because I fear that repercussions are just around every corner. We're just locked in to this idea of you can't like this, you can't follow this comedian, or there's repercussions financially. It feels like we're
Especially if
all locked
it's
down. And you have to believe,
using your
you know,
free
what's
speech
acceptable.
against
I don't
him.
even see where the free speech is coming in. For Elon to do a 180 and be like, oh, actually, all Americans are stupid, and I think I'll ban a huge swath of them who believes a certain thing. It's fucking disheartening.
Oof, that's the big Nazi fans. Also, star 67. Where are my Gen Xers at? Holy shit.
Thanks for making the video.
History is, it undulates, right? Chris, you learned this in history class. It's cyclical. There's never homeostasis. That's a pleasing thing to achieve is when there's a system that's set up and it just works properly. But that's not anything. That's not the human body. That's not your car. There's nothing like that. Everything is a constant battle between order and entropy.
Elon used free speech just to get Americans. And he's South African. He knew an easy way to get into Americans' hearts. Free speech. If you say anything bad about him and you got a name, yeah, you're gonna get your shit banned. For a day. Forever, how long he decide. Elon ain't for free speech.
You think it's likely what event or sequence of events do you think would have to happen for people to start resorting to violent protesting or even full-blown militia-style revolts? It's all like lobster in a boiling pot thing. Like the issue is, I really want to blame the far left right now. one of the big issues is that this,
Hassan.
and I've been complaining about this for
You know you
like
want to
8
blame
years, okay?
Hassan right now.
is when you scream fascist over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Oh, frog in a pot, boiling pot, not lobster. Although it doesn't have no lobsters here. When you
Screamed fascist. A lot of them scream fascist. And then you sat behind them at his coronation. Y'all still follow the traditions. The only motherfucker that said fuck that was Michelle Obama. Nah, she said fuck that. She meant that. She said fuck him. She meant that. You ain't see her nowhere around Trump. It's been a minute since you've seen Michelle Obama and Trump in the same room. Probably since his first. Probably since his first term. His first inauguration. I said coronation. His first inauguration. But yeah. Michelle said, fuck that. She not fucking with him. Yeah, they say fascist, 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 but then y'all was sitting y'all was sitting right there behind that motherfucking fascist, like y'all supported him, even though you don't, but you just played the game. Why? He wouldn't have played the game. If Trump lost his time, who thinks he would have showed up to the inauguration? I don't think he would have showed. I don't think he would have showed up. But the Democrats, they was right there sitting right in their normal seats.
scream fascist over and over and over again, the senses are dead to the word, and it's hard, like verbally, or it's hard in terms of like sounding the alarms when you've been screaming these things for a decade. And now that we're like getting into this area, it's like, okay, wait, hold on. This is now we really need to say this stuff. Like this is fascist shit. Like Trump is beyond. We're way past the point of like, is this like kind of fascist or not? Now it's like, ooh, where are we at? Are we at like 5 out of 10 of like the full conversion to the like fascist authoritarian state, or are we like on a 3 out of 10, or did we just get to the 1 out of 10? But like we're past that point. That there was that Twitter picture. I don't remember who made this point. Oh no, I copy pasted this. It was from a Substack. It was a really good point. I've stressed this a few times that what's happening is things will happen and we'll be like, okay, so what? But if you would have said 6 months ago, this thing will happen, everybody be like, nah, brah, nah. Like if you would have said a year ago, did you know that Donald Trump is going to sue Facebook for banning him because it violated his First Amendment right?
And
But
when?
Mark Zuckerberg and every other tech titan is going to donate $1 million to go to his inauguration ceremony. And after he's there, Zuckerberg's going to agree to pay Trump $25 million and unban his account to settle the lawsuit. Like, that's like one of 50 things, at least, that are like, people are like, nah, come on. What? Trump's not going to sue pollsters for publishing polls that he doesn't like. He did do that. He is doing that. Yeah, I don't know. We're way over the edge. And in terms of like when does it get to violent protests? I don't know, maybe the deportations will do it. It has to come off of the backs of like some kind of societal failing that's hurting our ability to live. So things that affect like food, clothing, shelter, that would cause like when your basic needs aren't being met. Although for the US, I feel like we have to go.
Trump isn't really serious about Canada becoming the 51st state. Oh man. Until he in the meeting, we talked about it. I brought it up. I feel like this mother. I feel like he's very serious about Canada becoming a 51st state. I really think he think that can happen. I really think he think that can happen. It ain't gonna happen, but I really think he can.
Go pretty far down to get to that point, or it's going to come with like some fundamental civil rights being infringed on big groups of people. So we've already kind of started to see it for trans people. Or actually, wait, all trans youth medicine has been banned now federally, hasn't it? So we've basically seen it for trans people. Somebody told me that they were redoing passports now to change the genders back.
And nobody really give a fuck about
Yeah.
what Trump say about genders. Like,
So I mean,
these motherfucking kids gonna be what they want.
Jesse, as a European observing everything that is currently happening in the U.S. from the outside, I'm completely amazed by the lack of outrage in Americans. Not only that, but it seems like a lot of people are supporting the shit show that you guys are experiencing. What do you think is the approach going forward? Unironically, seems like Civil War is the only way, or maybe Luigi Part 2, but no. So the issue is like, I've been ringing this bell for like half a decade, and nobody cares because it's not sexy. And for some reason, it's taking a lot of people time to catch up with this because everybody's like living in the past. But Trump and MAGA like stumbled into the future. And I think this video might get at it. Somebody recommended me this, but I haven't listened to it yet. The internet has changed everything about how we function. And as much as you as a European might look at America and think like, wow, America is doing some big mistakes. Bro, the United Kingdom ejected itself from the European Union. You have far-right parties that are gaining an unprecedented amount of popularity. Like the AFD and all that shit, that was just supposed to be like a response to 2013. I don't think anybody, at least in my impression, I'm not German, I don't think anybody thought they were going to become as popular as they were. Or like Marie Le Pen was supposed to be like, that was like a joke candidate that nobody took seriously in France before. Like, that's not all of Europe. I mean, Viktor Orban, you've got Russia invading Ukraine, you've got, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I like, it's not just an American thing. And I think it has a lot to do with how the internet works. And I think we have to be really careful about that. But well, we needed to be really careful about that. But oh no. What's hilarious, this is no opinion, tweeting on November 6th. What's hilarious is that some people are going around screaming, Elon Musk will be the shadow president, as if anyone besides them actually thinks that's a bad thing. Is the joke that like Trump would be worse? Or I retweeted something and then I saw something pop on my Twitter like 2 seconds later that like Musk's people now have access to like the treasury and like every payment going out to US citizens in the United States. Like I retweeted this from yesterday, but apparently this is like actually official now. Like this has happened.
Well, he need access to the payment.
Elon Musk's staff has been caught plugging in hard drives inside the Office of Personnel Management. I never believe stuff when I see it, just because the vernacular, plugging in hard drives. I know what the means, but okay. The Treasury Department and the General Services Administration, his staff encountered resistance when demanding that Treasury officials grant more access to systems managing the flow of more than $6 trillion annually to programs like Social Security and Medicare. Tensions escalated when Musk's aides were discovered at OPM accessing systems, including a vast database known as the Enterprise Human Resources Integration, which contains sensitive information such as dates of birth, Social Security numbers, performance appraisals, home addresses, pay grades, and length of service for government employees. In response to employees speaking out, Musk's aides locked civil servants out of computer systems and offices with reports of personal items being searched. I heard that did the Treasury guy quit today? Or how does Destiny not know what plugging in hard drives means? And oh man, you did it, dude. Who are you? We should have like an award for like the most triggering question, like the most unbelievably Godderator Smite. You win the hat for today. The problem is that it doesn't make much sense. First of all, okay, if you're talking about just like plugging in like a flash drive to copy data or whatever, then I guess you're saying that. But when somebody's just plugging in hard drives, it sounds like you're ripping out SATA cables and plugging something in a motherboard. I don't even know if the data would be contained this way, or if there would be like an internal, like a server farm or something inside the building, or there'd be like dedicated servers for this, or if this information would be stored in some other place. It's just a silly thing to say, like you're running around plugging in hard drives. Like, I don't even know if I know there are ways you can encrypt drives, even using Windows. I would hope that these drives can't just have images taken of them and that information is unencrypted. I don't know. I'm just saying that that's like kind of a silly expression. I don't think anybody actually does that anymore, but maybe it was just a figure of speech. That's what I mean when I just read something that makes me, I don't know, but. That's wrong, Destiny. What's wrong? In your face on that, and you're like, oh, what's up? What's up? What's up, T? What's up, buddy? Because you know, is fucking somebody's fuck having work or just a way. Oh, not like that same black.
It's the same thing.
Goes back into the technology thing too. I wonder if technology has like fundamentally changed how easy it is to kind of like co-opt businesses. Like if you were like an oil baron or something, you own infrastructure and transportation and oil and rights to land, like physical things that are everywhere. That like if a president was like, I'm gonna take all your shit, you're like, all right, motherfucker, you don't even have the people to hold all this shit. You. Whereas with data, it's like, okay, well, you know, we have whatever server farm, we could just take over this shit. Like it feels so much easier to control so much more than you ever could in the past with fewer people, I guess. But I mean, it's not like you would still need lots of people. So maybe that doesn't apply as much. I haven't thought through that one as much. I don't know. But Jesus. Although it's cowardly, do you empathize with people like Zuckerberg having to bend the knee because Trump has threatened to lock him and his family up? I mean, no, it's hard to empathize, but I understand that my expectation of him is great. But I mean, with great power comes great web slinging abilities. The thing is that like, if the history books are being written, like, don't you want to be the guy who was like, no, this is too much or this is too far?
He's not going to be that guy. He's not.
Rather than one of the people going along with it, especially if you have the ability. I respect Mark Cuban. I hope that guy doesn't cuck out. Please, God, don't let Mark. Bill didn't cuck out, did he? Bill Gates? I don't think he did. I don't think it's totally that. Like, usually the big capital owners are afraid of more socialists taking it and aligned with fascists to, at the very least, semi-own it still. Fascists usually don't nationalize. They usually just force the companies to align with the state. Yeah, but it's basically expropriation, I feel. If you're a capital owner and you're forced to give money to a fascist dictator guy and he's commanding you on how to run your business, you've basically been expropriated. You've just been expropriated by a non-socialist totalitarian government, I feel. But
they talk about 40 countries. We're rated number 40. And I say that if we...
It's in it.
Terry, if you're going to get rid of the education.
Because I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put
If she
herself
get
out of
rid
a
of
job.
the Department of Education,
So we're ranked number 40 out of 40 schools, right?
he's going to
We're
fuck
ranked
a
number 1 in
lot
cost per
of
pupil.
shit
So we
up.
spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. And we're ranked at the bottom of the list. We're ranked very badly. And what I want to do is let the states run schools. I believe strongly in school choice.
What does that
But in
mean?
addition to that, I want the states to run schools, and I want Linda to put.
What does
herself
that
out of
mean?
So you want to get something to do with an executive
I would like to be able to, look, if I could give the schools back to Iowa and Idaho and Indiana and all these places that run properly, there's many of them. I think
Yeah, famously, red states have the highest, have the best educational outcomes. Famously, you know, like the Mississippis, the Alabamas.
So if you look at the list, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, believe it or not, China's doing very well on that list. A list of
And this,
where they run their
giving it back to
school
the
system well.
states, is supposed to
I
make us
love that
better.
they always. This is somewhat new, especially from a Republican. Consistently pointing to, like pure public, like a pure public structure. Oh, Hakeem Jeffries' 10-point plan. Okay, I'll look at it in a second. Like pointing to Norway and China or any number of different places, and then being like they're doing so well because they're not. Because their educational outcomes are so much better than ours. It's true, right? And then trying to undermine public education or completely abolish it, basically, by destroying the federal structure and the funding mechanisms that already exist, that are already being mismanaged through multiple decades of austerity and charter schools and privatization, is insane. Okay. It's insane. And also, these countries that he's mentioning, whether it's like China, Japan, or Korea, or numerous other Asian countries specifically, when he talks about education, the reason why, especially China, is so good at education is because it's public and it's well funded and it's universalized. Okay. But there's also still tremendous negative qualities to that level of competitive education. I know this from my experiences growing up in Turkey, where Turkey also has a now limited but somewhat decent, at least historically somewhat decent public education structure all the way up to college. Okay. And as long as you take the national test, both moving from 8th grade into high school, where you take the first national test that you need to take, like a standardized test, and then moving on from high school to college, you take a second standardized test. You can get into the top institutions. The best education that you can get in Turkey, at least when I was growing up, was still in public schools. They were incredibly competitive. And that competition, of course, was still burdensome for young minds. Okay? It was still very difficult. So there are issues in these countries as well. There are issues in publicly funded education systems as well. The issues are the unimaginable amount of cramming that you need to do in terms of studies. You know, you got to go to cram school, basically. You have to go to extra school after school and like specifically study for this test. There's so much stress involved in it. It's definitely not good for people's brains, especially when they're developing. They're under tremendous pressure, tremendous stress. So there are issues in those structures as well. But the major reasons as to why they have significantly better educational outcomes than we do is because it's funded and it's public and it's not pay to win.
You have a lot of countries, not surprising names. I think that if you moved our schools.
Funding has nothing to do with how poorly educated the USA is, Law. No, brother. Funding absolutely has something to do with it. Yes, the cost per pupil is very high in the United States of America. This
Black Christians versus Black
Only
Muslims.
Allah can judge them, not anybody else here. Nobody, none of you guys can judge anybody or what they are, they're gay, whatever, what it is.
I'm not judging them. I'm judging the.
No, but you said it's, what is it? Same thing with Christianity and Islam. It's like you say the same
When I'm
thing.
saying
Like,
sexual sin, right, is a sin.
but Christianity gets.
Middle ground.
If you don't follow my religion, then you will go to hell.
Oh, they all sit down. Oh, all the Christians sit down.
You know, my religion and Christianity, I always reference the Bible because that's the book that we're supposed to read. And in the Bible, it says, Jesus says this, he says, there is no way to the Father except through me. So when I read that literal as in you can't get to heaven, you can't get to the Father who owns the kingdom of heaven except through me, who is Jesus. And so when you ask the question, if you don't follow my religion, will you go to hell? I think that it says it clearly right there.
People always look at when Christians have this belief that we have, it's a matter of being like, oh, you're going to heaven, oh, you're going to hell, as far as it's a punishment from God. No, you chose not to believe in God. Like, and so it's actually an act of God's kindness to say, if you don't want to be with me, then I'm not going to force you to be with me. Like, there's another place for you, but there's no purgatory. So there's no middle ground, gray room, lawn chair with a newspaper. It's heaven or hell. And so God is saying, if you don't want me, then I'm not going to force you to want me.
I don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in. I'm not God, right? It's our belief that everything that we experience in this life that is good comes from God. Hell would be the absence of anything good and the God that makes it good.
Right. It says in the scriptures that the goodness of God leads to repentance,
That's right.
And so we need to be focusing on not whether we're going to hell if we don't follow the law, right? But it really is about enjoying the fruits of life and the abundance of who He is, and making the most of our time here by, sharing the gospel and making disciples of all nations. As Christians, our approach is to always lead in love, and I don't think I think a lot of us are learning how to, but I think that that's what Jesus charges us to do, because even with that vein of judgment, it's an identification that if you don't believe in Jesus, then hell is where you go. Now, it is not on us to say, you're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. We're actually supposed to be like, you want to go to lunch? You need a hug? Let's go get coffee. And I feel like for me, I always feel the charge to reassure people that Jesus loves them, because He does. And He loves you before you were even on this earth, because He formed you. And so even in you not choosing Him, He always chooses you. And it actually is vexing that you choose not to choose Him, because it's like, I love you so much. Like, I created you, and I wish you knew how much I cared about you. And so it's important for us as Christians to operate in that vein. We're not here to judge. We're not here to condemn. And we're not excelling anybody out of anything. It's just a matter of identifying what Jesus says it is and what it's not.
Every facial expression you can make.
Relaxer.
Christians clearly believe. We disagree with the content of your belief. That's different, though. That's not the fact that you believe in God. I don't think you ask a Christian, do you believe in God? They say no. Same thing for Jews. So I just think, just from the basis of our religion, it's just a wrong position to take, that if you're not a Muslim, you're going to go to hell.
But could that be based off of your moral stance as a person? Because, and I could be wrong, let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe there's a text in the Quran that talks about if a Muslim sins and is in hell, then Allah will replace them with a Jew or a Christian.
That's a hadith.
That's a hadith? Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
And
hadith.
it's weak. It's weak in terms of that's a whole field of study, but no, that's not a teaching of our Quran. Yeah.
That's my fault with there's a lot that was said about Christ is the only way. And my wife, who she grew up Christian, mainly her whole life, when she reverted to Islam, these things that she said to me was, I feel like I'm in religion in my life that I'm able to follow Christ better. In Islam, it's pointing back to Christ. There's nothing that's not pointing back there. If you read the Quran, it's the stories that's in the Bible. And as a matter of fact, in the Quran, it says that the Torah and the gospel were revealed by God, by Allah. So it's not if the idea is you have to go through Christ, we're not void of that. Now, is Christ God? Is Christ prophet? That's where through Christ, that's where everyone debates on what that means. But there's the Quran is not separate from the idea that the Torah and the gospel came. Moses is the most mentioned prophet in the Quran. So ultimately, that's why I think when you say if you're not with my religion, well, even in Christianity, there's a plethora of different ways people approach religion as far as Christ. There's so many different type of denominations. There's thousands of understandings of God. So when you say religion, it's kind of like, well, you know, mathematics says 2 + 2 can equal 4, 1 + 3 could equal 4, 4 + 0 could equal 4. And we can all argue about who has the right formula, but if we pay attention, we can recognize that there's different ways to get to the same answer. And sometimes when you say religion, there's just a different way to go about it. God, Allah, these are languages. You get what I'm saying? So ultimately, I feel like what I love about Islam is that it's not running away from Christ. It believes that it's more clarifying Christ. The Quran's written in a way with the Bible, with all the different types of Bibles there are, with Constantine, King James, with just the different people who've got their hands on it. The Quran, and no disrespect, but the Quran, what I love about it is that the original Arabic text is right there. That's just one thing that's just like, okay, if all those fails, just in translation alone, you can lose things. And then on top of that, one word in English can mean so many different things in Arabic. So there's footnotes at the bottom for the scholar to explain historically. Yeah, just, you know, and I just respect that idea of when you're going to talk to me about someone who is important as Christ, explain yourself at the bottom, have the original text there for us to verify through. The Quran is written in a way to be able to protect Christ's word. And so ultimately, I believe when you say religion, I think it is a judgmental thing because we're not sure what is following Christ exactly.
Just but like how does one that practices Islam, how do they get to heaven or hell? Like what is the way?
Most people are living in a world of myth. You know, that's not really, that's the way that religion is taught. Do good, go to heaven. Be bad, go to hell. When you actually look at, and there, I've read from Christian scholars like N.T. Wright as well, that they've talked about this, that really, when you look at the scripture, it's all about, you know, Adam was put on the earth to cultivate the life on the earth. And he went wrong on the earth, and the kingdom will be established on the earth.
Can I correct you real quick? He was put in the Garden of Eden, not the earth. But
that was on the earth.
I don't think so. Not from what I believe. I don't think the Garden of Eden was on earth because when he got.
Well, see, you're saying I'm just quoting them.
I know. I'm just quoting.
Oh my goodness.
That's fine.
Where was it?
It was high. That's why the rivers came from it, because it was elevated, but it was a part of the earth. We've forgotten that we're supposed to make our life on this earth better. So like in Jewish tradition, for example, like in Islamic tradition, every time a man marries a woman, it's a replication of the garden. It begins in a home. We believe that those children, like one of our teachings is that heaven lies at the foot of mother, because those children that are under her care, that is paradise. They're heavenly. They don't come here. Now, this may be a difference with you, but from our view, they don't come here wanting sin and say, let me get some beer. They're good people. Have you all ever seen that? I mean, they come, they're sweet, they want to be loved, they want to give love. And our job is to cultivate that, create an environment that allows for that to grow and flourish, and ultimately extend that to the world. So how does that happen? The same values that most of us get when we're children, you know, be respectful, don't lie, you know, don't steal. All of these things that I think everyone kind of knows. It creates an environment, or it has the capacity and the potential to create an environment for human beings that is heavenly. What happens after we die is the result of that.
I can't get down with Islam. For me personally, the reason why I can't accept it is because there's no guarantee of salvation. And so I can be
really quick. What do you mean when you say that?
When I say there's no guarantee of salvation, I'm saying that I can stand before Allah as a model Muslim, and he can choose, because of my sinful nature, he can choose to still send me to hell. That's what I've read out of the Quran. I could be wrong. You could reject that premise entirely. But for me, I can't, with Christianity, the guarantee of salvation is in the personification of Jesus Christ, his death, burial, and resurrection. And like I said before, I mentioned that verse from Corinthians, he that knew no sin became sin so that we might become the righteousness of God. That tells me as a Christian that I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to try to be perfect. I don't try to be like Christ because he's asking me to. I'm trying to be like Christ because that is the best way to be. Just as a blanket statement, it's the best way to be. It's the best way to be loving, to be kind. In Galatians 5, it talks about the fruit of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. There are people who are not Christians that operate that way. So I'm not saying that that's unique to Christianity. Any Christian worth their salt would say, no, it's not a religion, it's a way of life, it is a lifestyle, it is a relationship.
Yeah.
That's a buzzword. I know you've heard Christians say like, it's a relationship, it's not a religion. But if you're truly walking with Jesus, you understand that it is in fact a walk with a friend. And the more you walk with that friend, you become like him.
I first and foremost believe that none of us have really truly seen God in his form, like God and who his true form is. And I can't believe anyone who is a monotheist would see God and deny him. And when I think of it that way, I think of it in the context that also you think about it, the way that the stories are brought across, right? Like a lot of these stories start in the Middle East per se, right? And it storms out into different aspects of the earth. When you think of it that way, there's people who have never heard the gospel, they've never heard the Torah, they've never heard the Quran, they've never had any knowledge of these things, but they have a feeling that there is a God. I don't personally believe that that person is going to be condemned to hell. There's so much that we can only fathom so much from the scriptures of the word, and I think that's why it was revealed in Hebrew, in Aramaic, and in Arabic. There's also the Sumerian. I'm still trying to understand. But even then, when you try to take from Sumerian that goes to Hebrew, you could have a sentence that says he jumped over the fence, and then you bring it all the way over into English, and that sentence is saying a whole different thing. That sentence is saying he drove his car over into the water. Like this is just the way that language, broken tongue, the Tower of Babel, how all these things, languages work. It's just like that, and I think that there's a level of intent that I think that is there, and I think that's the beauty of the perfection of God.
My religion does more for the Black community than the other.
When Islam makes its presence known to the Black community, primarily through the Nation of Islam, first and foremost, that's when we begin to see certain critical changes, such as our even wanting to be called Black. We didn't even want to be called Black once upon a time.
Sure.
We didn't even want to look like ourselves. So there was a hatred of ourselves, no fault of our own, to be fair, but the proper medicine to relieve us of that ill. We don't see the process, that process taking place until the coming of the Nation of Islam. Even someone like James Cone, who sort of structured or put together Black liberation theology, he openly admitted it. He said, look, we knew Malcolm and those guys were right. So I had to create something. He says it like this. I had to find the message of Christ speaking to Black people. And essentially, now this is with due respect to him as a great theologian, all he did was just restructure Nation of Islam arguments. When we look at the church, we can see great efforts, but most of those efforts, from our view, have to do with assimilation.
Me, myself,
but every
I
great
prefer
movement to stand us up as a people, as an independent group of standing in our own dignity and sense of value and worth.
Yeah, we can be
I've
called
seen it come from
anything.
Muslims.
We're everything.
First thing I'm gonna say is there's a lot of faith and there's a lot of fact when it comes to stuff. And I think my faith is more determined.
We have so many
I feel like if
names.
God gives us religion as his relationship to us as people, then that should cultivate your social construct, that should cultivate your understanding of politics, your education, everything that you are. There should be proof and evidence of what that word does for you. We didn't get a fair trial of that with Christianity because of the way that it was systematically put. We still fought through that and produced strong, beautiful Christians who did a lot for us. Harriet Tubman, I mean, that's my history too. It's not a Muslim Christian thing. That was a Christian woman who came and got us up out of it. So I don't even like the question in a way. But however, like brother was saying, the critical thing of what Islam brought, it challenged everything head on, and it produced the reality for us that you can't run from it. It actually helped the Christian conversation.
do that?
Without Malcolm going as hard as he did, Malcolm creates a choice that makes them look at Martin, who they didn't like, and then they go, we don't like Martin, we won't do it, but we really don't like Malcolm, so we got to do Martin. Because every time we hurt him and we do something against him and do something against them, then we send more towards the Malcolms and we send more towards this side. So what Islam did, especially through the Nation of Islam, is it gave us a pride about who we are as being Black. It took us and decided that we could ultimately do so much together and that it could build us. And then it created a reality that worked with that. And I got to say a name specifically through the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who through the 30s all the way to 1975 ran an unparalleled run. He went in, he got put in the jails for wars that we're dealing with right now. When World War II came, he was one of the first to be set in jail to even bring the Quran inside of jail. By the time he's coming out, he's got more of us off of drugs, more of us off of drinking, more of us pushing marriage together. And then he produced a Black Wall Street for us while we were here. He was just never credited. He created more world leaders out of us. He created culture for us based on where we were at and never really tried to deny that, you know, the Christianity in us and the greatness in us, but to pull the best out of us for that. By the time desegregation is coming and Elijah Muhammad is saying integration is a hypocritical trick, he was trying to tell us that there's nothing wrong with integrating, but there's things that have to be done before you do that. If they're set forward for hundreds of years and we're set down for hundreds of years, when we integrate, we're going to integrate like this. And after integration, we found ourselves in ghettos and hoods all across the country, but ultimately we didn't have the need to want to build what we already had because now we had already had the idea that we needed to be with them, that ultimately if we get to eat with them, we get to where we want to be at. Islam, by the way it was pushed through Black people, was trying to counter everything that we eventually ran into. Every problem that we deal with today, it was fighting it and producing a reality to show that we can do this on our own and to give ourselves a certain level of respect. And to say that by the end of Martin Luther King, out of that, 1863, but not check. And now, for what they used to do back then with Christianity is what we do in politics now. They use politicians to create order, but not to give us justice.
I think Christians, I think the slaves, the abolitionists, they got us free under the banner and the foundation of Christianity.
Yeah.
I agree. I believe that. I also believe that the way that the Black church has continued, and not all Black churches, but I have to use this general sense, the way that the Black Big C church as a whole has moved forward, we have not been as sustainable as the Black Islamic movement. In Christianity, about what I believe is a calling from God.
I think both, in part, they do honestly like good things for the community, right? In whatever way we kind of value that. But I don't necessarily think we're there yet. That being said, I mean, we're still in the conditions that, you know what I'm saying? We're still in the poverty mindset. And then versus, you know, in a spiritual aspect, when I see movements like the Nation of Islam, yes, they do a lot of great things, but you know, me being a little bit biased in my perspective and my views, it's like, are they really in the right way? So it's hard to really decipher like what religion is doing good things because of how am I going to value what that good thing is?
The levels of discipline and levels of infrastructure that I've been taught while being in Islam, that the Quran speaks on for people within the faith. And those are things that tie a lot of what I want to see.
So she's saying just because you're doing that for Islam, she can't support it. She don't think it's good. Even if you feed kids, helping the homeless.
Like we're all saying, it's so
just
minute.
because
I don't even really truly see
Islam
like,
is attached to that.
They just so much more than
it ain't
because
good.
we're all contributing our own way. And I think it's just only separation I see was a difference that I saw within the two was like, I did grow up, and again, this is super just personal. I saw a family member, I'd rather say, when they became born again. I saw how they were treated within the church. And they were not treated in a way, they were condemning things of her in a way I didn't see within like the Islamic faith. That's the only thing.
Where I'm from, there ain't as many Black people. I'm from Seattle, and so we probably have like a 3 to 4% of Black people. But within that, I've seen Black churches rise up for the community in ways I've never seen before. In Seattle, there was a Reverend, the late and great Reverend McKinney, who actually went to college and was close friends with Dr. Martin Luther King. And through Reverend McKinney, Dr. King came to Seattle and they did protest and they created centers and job opportunities for Black people so that there was opportunities for them. I think the reason why I lean more towards the Black church, outside of the fact that I'm a Black woman, a part of the Black church, is simply the fact that I've never seen the Black church do something for the Black community at the cost of discounting another community. Like, I think the vein of I look at the vein of which things are done in, and I think the Black church has always done it in the vein of, we're aware that there's resources and things that we need that we're not being allotted systematically. So we're gonna provide that. And there's this, it's called the social gospel. It's like a practice that Dr. King subscribed to, as well as Dr. McKinney, which was that, like, how can we lead people to Christ if their bills aren't paid, if their car notes aren't paid, if they can't feed their kids? How can we lead them? What would make them want to even come to church in the first place if all their natural necessities aren't met? And so in that way, that's where the Black church stepped in and was like, we're charged with the assignment and the obligation to meet those needs because we have those resources.
Oh my gosh, all those said donuts got me feeling like it's nap time. You, hey, PA boy, get over here.
Coffee, sir.
My goodness, what happened to you? In Philly, that's up to 40 times the highest insurance offer. That we look at homosexuality as like the worst thing you can do. And because you look at it in that certain like context and in that certain way, it's super easy to divide, right? It's super easy to divide people and say these people believe that gay people are going to hell. These people don't. I don't see, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong if you don't believe this, but I believe that the general Christian belief is that homosexuality is a sin, yes, but all sin are equal before God.
Yeah.
And so, and because of that, it's no more a sin than being a liar.
Yeah.
It's no more of a sin than being a murderer. It's no more of a sin than any other sins that we commit. For us as Christians, there is no sliding scale of what sin is. All of it is unrighteousness before God.
And they
God
still
is holy,
do
period.
it.
He has to judge it.
How about that?
So
That's the
in
Christian belief.
Islamic law is a little different. Without getting too technical, number one, there are grades. You have minor and major sins. So, but the term in and of itself, sin, how is it defined in our perspective? So the first
They
thing,
gonna
again,
kill
this is
him,
very
motherfucker.
general. What God says to do, and to do what he says do, to perform what he says do, then that would be a good thing. To do opposite of what he says to do would be a sin. That's very general. But when we take a closer look
They
at
about to
those
kill
things
him,
that he commands of
motherfucker.
us to do, they're not arbitrary. They don't serve, like they're not without
They about to
purpose.
kill him,
So
motherfucker.
ultimately, everything